Hi, in this video we'll go over level of detail expressions in ThoughtSpot. The level of detail expression that we use in ThoughtSpot is called group aggregate. Unlike Tableau and other tools where we need to use multiple LOD functions for different purposes, in ThoughtSpot it's really straightforward. There's only the group aggregate function that you need to use. There are certain features of this function that we will go over. We'll also go over certain scenarios as to how you can use this one. So quickly going over in simple terms what the group aggregate function enables us to do. So the first one is we can get a result by specific columns and at a defined level of detail. And the second one is like we can also accept or ignore certain filter values. So say you have filtered the data for a particular year or a particular category, but you do not want the level of detail calculation to get impacted by that. We can ensure that that does not happen. And the third is imagine that the original level of detail is different. You are looking at data at a city level, but you would like a column that says what is the total sales at a state level, the state that that particular city belongs to. So that is something that we can do as well. Now going over the syntax. So the simple syntax is group aggregate, open parentheses. First we do the aggregation. So the aggregation could be something like say sum of sales. You could also do min, max, unique count, and then various other aggregations. The second piece of this syntax is query groups. So this is where we specify the dimensions or the grouping level that we want. So for example, if we want sum of sales at a state level, so we will open curly brackets, and within the curly brackets we will write state. And then lastly, the third uh, the third piece of the syntax is query filters. So this is where we specify which filters we want, which filter we are fine with impacting the calculation, which filters we want to ignore, or in general are we good with all filters irrespective of whichever field they belong to. So this is the third piece. Now let's quickly go over this example, and then we'll come to certain more scenarios and certain more features where we can use this. So let's pull in city, and then let's pull in sales. Let's also pull in state. So right now we have sales at the city level, and we also know which state that city belongs to. Let's sort this based on descending. Now let's create a formula. Let's say we want the sales of the state. So let's say state sales of state. We write group aggregate. We want the sum of sales, and then at the query group level, um, we want it at a state level. So we'll open curly brackets, we'll write state, and then close the curly brackets, and then query filter. Let's keep it simple for now. So you see, for Nevada, city sales of Las Vegas was 67.34 million, but the total sales of the state is 129.79 million. So that is what this particular formula gives us. Now the first portion is query groups. So what level of detail do you want the aggregation to be? Right now we are looking at state level, but imagine we want it at the level, at the most granular level that is available in the view. So the most granular level right now is city. So let's say, let's make a copy of this one, and let's say sales or at most granular level, and basically we won't specify a dimension, we'll just write query groups. Yeah, let's add this to our table, and you will see that sales at the most granular level is the same as what you see for the city. Now the third scenario for query groups could be, imagine you do not want any grouping at all. So you want the total sales across the board. You do not want to group it at city or state or any other level. So let's make a copy of this. Let's call it sales, no grouping. So for no grouping, what we do is we do not use query groups. We do not specify a particular column name. We just open and close curly brackets. So this is what we do when we want no grouping. Let's add this to the table. So you see all rows have the same value. This is because all of them are reporting sales irrespective to the total sales irrespective of any grouping. So this is the first piece of query groups. The other piece is the query filters. Now under query filters, this is where we specify the filters that we want. So the first one that we used is query underscore filters open and close parentheses. This basically accepts all filters. So for example, right now, say if I filter this data for 2024, you would see everything would get filtered for 2024. So for Nevada, you see the two cities add up to 13.14 million. So even the formulas and the sales in general gets filtered for 2024. The second one is, say we want to ignore all filters. So similar to query groups where we use open and close curly brackets, we use open and close curly brackets under query filters when we want to ignore all filters. So let's pick example of sales of state. So let's edit this. Instead of query filters, let's do open and close curly brackets. So this would ignore all the filters, whether at the answer level, whether at the lifeboat level. Yeah, as you see, we are back to the original sales that we were seeing. Now the third one is, say you only want to ignore specific columns. So you don't want to ignore all filters, and you also do not want to accept all filters, but there are specific filters that you do not want to use. So that is where basically we subtract those specific columns that we don't want to filter on. Now let's pick a scenario. For example, right now I have multiple filters. One is the date filter, the other could be, say, a category, say a product filter. So let's filter for product, say duck pants. So let's filter for duck pants, and also let's remove some of these existing ones. So after I filtered for duck pants, you would see this total sales is filtered only for duck pants, but the sales of state really is not filtered for duck pants. Let's remove sales of state as well. Let's make a copy of this. Let's call this sales of basically city, or sales at most granular level, ignoring product filter, or let's say ignoring the date filter. So we still want to filter for duck pants, but we do not want to filter for 2024. So group aggregate sum of sales. Instead of a particular field, we would just use query group so that it gives us the most granular level. And then right here, what we will do, firstly we will type in query filters. So what this does is this accepts all the filters, and then we will subtract the column that we do not want. So date filter is the one that we want to subtract. Let's hit go. So now you see it is returning sales filtered for duck pants, but does not filter for 2024. Okay, sorry, this is not the one. We need to use the fourth one. I got confused with so many formulas. Yeah, so this is the sales. So lifetime sales in Nevada for duck pants is 114.13k. Only in 2024 it's 10.98k. So we could also rename these to say 2024 duck pants sales, and then this one could be, say, lifetime duck pants state sales. So yeah, these were a few scenarios that we went over. In the next video we'll also go over some more complex scenarios, but this is how we use level of detail expressions in ThoughtSpot. I'm sure this video would be good enough to give you a grasp of how to perform these expressions in ThoughtSpot, but let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thank you.